Welcome to Tulas MTV. Igama lami uThulas Mtshali. Uhlabangani magalela gase njengengonyama umantshinga ngacosha icosha abafokazana. Niyazi ke mase kunjalo ke ngikhuluma kanje ukuthi ngisuke nginamukela ke kwi-episode yanamhlanje. Ihlukile ke yanamhlanje episode inje ngihanjelwe. Ngihanjelwe ngino Scelo Ngubane. Wenzani uScelo Ngubane? I-motivational speaker. Siyadinga ke empilweni ukuthi sike sikhuthazwe ke ngokomoya. Khona amavesi kodwa nje khona la kudingwa khona ukuthi kukhulunywe nathi nje sikhuthazeke. Khona izimo ezidlula kuzo ezidinga nje ukuthi kukhulunywe nathi. Ungasikhothela amavesi ukukhulume nathi nje usimotivate. Injalo ke indaba namhlanje. Ake ngimamukele kubhuti Scelo Ngubane. Bhuti wami njani?
Yaphila njani sir?
Hayi ngiright kakhulu.
Yes.
Ngiyabonga ukungihlonipha namhlanje uze ku-show.
Yeah.
Yakudala ngizama ukukuthola.
All right.
Yakuthiwa ubambekile kodwa ngiyabonga namhlanje. Yeah. Okay, buthi Scelo uchoose enye i-direction la. Sicela usitshele kabanzi ke iqala abantu bakwazi bafuna ukwazi abantu ukuthi nanguke kuthiwa ubhuti Scelo Ngubane uyamotivate wenza konke ke kodwa sifuna ukumazi ne-background yakhe mhlawumbe umakhelwane nje. Uyabona? Ngicela bhuti wami uzazisa abantu bakwazi.
Thank you so much to the Sam, and it's such an honor to be here, and thank you for having me. Scelo Ngubane, I was born in Singatop in KZN.
Oh, nice.
And I grew up in Davidton and then moved to Etwatwa, where I did a lot of my youth work. I'm a motivational speaker because when I got and look at my background, where I come from, motivation became what was keeping me going. So I realized that motivation has always been that single idea that I've been basing my life on. And as a person that has been motivating in schools, going to motivate young people in schools who come from different backgrounds to say, you are not your background. Your past does not determine you, you know. Do not take your life that we mkukwin, then you look down on yourself, you know. You know, that's why umkuku share lapho and you go and you meet the world. So for me, motivation became a center of what is the base of my life, because I've realized many young people who really need motivation, a lot of young people who need to be spoken unto, young people who need somebody to guide them, to inspire them and tell them that this might look like it's the end, but actually it's the beginning. So I am a young person, or I was a young person. I'm turning 39 this year. I grew up in Etwatwa, and the community raised me. So I'm the custodian of the same community, because I grew up in the civic movement where umuntu ngabantu. I grew up in a youth center where it's about cohesion and solidarity of us coming together, especially because we have common vision and common dreams, and we share those things. And it became so much interesting for my life in these youth gatherings that it's what has produced what I am today. So all my basis, all my beginning as Scelo Ngubane is really from the humble beginnings of the dusty streets of Etwatwa. Yes.
Nice. Khonto into qedwe ukisho la engithathile kancane engicabanga ukuthi nabalaleli abafuna ukwazi bazofuna ukuyazi. Uthe imotivation ukukhula kanzima yiko kwenze ugcine uwela ku motivation, right? And then ungasithatha mhlawumbe usibeke if you don't mind. Mawuthi ukukhula kanzima uchaza awusinike leyo background ukuthi mawuthi ukukhula kanzima uyabona singayibeka istory ukuthi mhlambe benihlala ku one room ekhaya uyayibona istories njengalezo abantu into abafuna ukuyazi leyo ukuze bakhona khona ozo relate. Yes o bese give up ila athi no ngenxa yale story sikabhuti Scelo ngiyazithintitha manje. Scelo usithathe lapha ngiyazi abanye abathanda ukukhuluma ngezinto abadlule kuzo.
No, actually it's what motivates me to us. The fact that I come from a very big family. Ekhaya estradini sethu we were very many. Abazukulu alone were about 25. And you will not have your own room. Then they try space sakho, your own time and all of that. We didn't have. Not a new group. And coming from that background, because one thing that I realized was that Istrat said to bonke bebaz, but makuthiwa kuyahlusheka kwabo Scelo. Now, whenever you speak, whatever you say, you have this thing of people say gini bayahlupheka. So nobody takes you serious because before they see you, they see poverty in you. Before you raise a hand, before you speak, because another thing that you cannot hide was your dress code could tell where you come from.
Eish.
So you have your toned trousers and all of that. It is now toned trousers are a fashion. But in our time, the toned trousers was a sign of poverty. And I remember Kaya was thengela impahla. So it was a tailor, was thungela sonke sakwa ngokufana. And because there were about 15 boys, and then a lot of them were females. And Masmile Lapana were so confident in Pashazet. And I remember somebody saying, "Ha, you have really black mambazo."
Eish.
And to some extent, people try to diss us, but I enjoyed that because for me, Black Mambazo was a big group that I knew.
Yeah.
So I started to say, we are a Black Mambazo that is not homeless. Because the song that they sing, homeless, and say, one identity about me when growing up was the fact that even when you approach someone, Mausakulu, a teenager, and you ask yourself, how can
Yes.
So poverty was what is trying to take away of my identity. So that is why a lot of time, my audience really is not from Sentin. My audience is Etwatwa. My audience is Davidton. My audience is Soweto. My audience is Msinga Top. People who understand, who are in poverty today, to say to them, poverty is a vice. If you shake it out, you'll be out of that thing. It's not something that is going to identify you for the rest of your life. So one thing that I had to make sure that from time to time in my life was to say to myself, poverty, you are not me. Me and you are here to fight. You're not going to have a last word of who Scelo is. One time I will be rich, I will be successful. And when I am successful, people are going to ask, how did you make it? It's because nothing in my background was trying to make me to be what I'm supposed to be.
Nice.
So when you speak to young people and say, your shoes that are torn do not make you. I remember I was doing standard 3 and being attending the SEM and I was singing because I saw my carry available we have go SEM ukuthi udlulisa isikhathi. Yes, by the time we lunch eat shazi it is so kulile or right natandas. And the teacher was head of SEM said, "Ngifuna ucule assembly on Friday. You have a very beautiful voice." I nearly missed that Friday because I was afraid of my shoes. Because even if you are talented, even if you are gifted, there's always one thing that is trying to tarnish your identity. And the shoes for me were more important than my voice. The shoes became more important than my presence. The shoes took away that the beautiful voice they said I have. I could not look at it because the shoes were taking a lot of me. So my motivation is on the basis of poverty is not your identity and poverty is not your suit. Poverty must be taken out. And poverty has a problem because it's not only your clothes, it's not only your food, but also psychologically. That when you have not experienced to be affirmed and to be loved, you will always think there is poverty of those ways. It's true. There's people who have not been told they're beautiful. The feeling is more dangerous than the actual. People feeling ugly, whereas they're not ugly. So the feeling is dangerous. Because even if you are great, if you don't feel great, you won't realize you're great. So you need to believe it because the feeling is dangerous than the actual. Sometimes you feel hungry, whereas you're not hungry because the feeling is dangerous. So motivation is able to chant into the war and the battle that we are facing. And as a person who also studied, I think we're doing King Kechwayo's story in Piase Sandluan, that the Zulu people, before they fought with the Englishmen, they won it psychologically before they ended actually. Because the white people had guns, they had arms, but the Zulu people were only having a mikonto. How can you conquer bombs only having the spear in your hand? It's because of the belief inside of you. Because as you're singing the songs, that's why it's Heritage Day, manje. And people are playing, which I'm a UMP, what do you do? What do you chant? And all of those things.
Yeah.
So not only motivation built me, also music, because in arts, I used to enjoy doing traditional dance and bengikosa, so those things built me, my confidence built on stage. Now, I could stand in front of people and say whatever I want to say. And the fact that people said, you are good in that, watered more of my greatness. So poverty is my number one enemy. I hate it so much, I don't even wish it for my enemy.
Yeah. Hey, Buffett, niyazi ukuthi iqalile motivation angithi. Hayi iqalile kanje. Ephuthu ususiqalile vele wena.
Yeah.
Hayi ususu ngizwa ngivukelwe enye into nami. Hey. Right, ngiyayizwa indaba ye story kodwa ke uNkulunkulu muhle.
Yeah.
uNkulunkulu muhle. Mina ngithi mangikhuluma nawe manje ngizwa ngibona obunye ubuhlakani kuwe.
Yeah, man.
Ya noma ukhuluma ngiyeza ukuthi alright umntana kodwa ke ube umntwana obeshoda ngezicathulo kodwa ke lokuhlakanipha nalokufunda ongaka ukutholephi. So mangikuzwa njengomuntu okhulile.
Yeah, man.
Ukhulile kakhulu ukuhlakanipha kuwe sengikuzwile nje uhlakaniphe ukudlula mina. Uyabo?
I wanted to say thank you, but I don't agree.
Uhlakanipha ukudlula mina. So manje mayethu uyabheka omunye umuntu ekhaya ukuthi hayi uyasikhohlisa. Naku ushaya isingisi esinje kodwa uthi ukhule kanzima. Kwenzeke kanjani ngoba umuntu khona izinto ozifundisa zona along the way.
Yeah.
So ngifuna ukuzwa strategy sakho ukuze ufike kulokuhlakanipha kuko nalolwazi onalo. Wenze njani because isimo besingavumi from back then.
Thanks for that question, Tulas. It's a difficult one because I started writing when I was, I think, 18 in 1997, if I'm correct. My book, Who Am I? The Quest to Personal Discovery. Excuse me. There are two elements of thoughts. Kunabantu ababeliever in creating yourself. Kunabantu ababeliever in discovering yourself. And for me, those two, because I at school I was a debater, so I enjoyed doing debate. I'm told that debate is one art that allows you to listen to an opposition so that you can be able to position your angle. So when I was at school, I joined debate. That for me was very interesting to boost my confidence. But moreover, why I'm linking it to a personal discovery, the thing about who am I, is that if you believe in creating yourself, create. If you believe in discovery, discover. Life and death is in your tongue. What do you call yourself? What do you call things? So for me, words are more important in my life. That motivation and debate and all of those became a formation because not only would I debate, but also I would motivate, So I grew up taking opportunities that are presented to me as a gift because Miles Monroe was once quoted saying, there are people who die at 20 and get buried at 40. And I ask myself why. It's because there are people who hold on to their past so much that there's nothing new that they remember but their past. And I realize that people are prisoners of their past. People are prisoners of their failure. Thomas Edison says, I did not fail 999 times. He says, I discovered 999 ways that don't form a bulb. So what you do when you rise again says a lot about you because pressure does not change character, it reveals it. So one thing about what I've discovered about myself is that I am more comfortable in a space where I'm given an opportunity and I know that this is what my gift is all about.
Yeah.
Because all of us have gifts and talent. They say all of us when we're born and our arms were like this because we're carrying something. I believe all of us have that greatness. The challenge is facing your fear and facing it in a sense of, I know what I'm fighting against because once you face your fear, your faith is just after your fear. What you fear, just after it, your faith starts. So once you can face and say, I know I'm afraid of this, but I'm going to do it now. And why you do it now? You're not doing it because you're afraid of it. Do it because you believe you can do it. So what has shaped my life is opportunities that have been given. I was selected to go to Zimbabwe to represent South Africa at the times of 1998, 1999, the dawn of HIV and AIDS in South Africa. So I'll go and be an ambassador of South Africa to teach young people in the SADC about issues of sex and sexuality. So for me, when I was selected to be the only one in South Africa going and representing South Africa there, I said there was something great about me. I was selected to go and participate in Music May Day in Netherlands and to go to the first class country where there was a lot of development there and experienced that for about 6 months staying there. And I realized that you have greatness in you. It doesn't matter where you have been planted. What is important is the kind of a fruit that you have inside of you. If you have greatness in you, you believe in yourself, nothing is going to stop you. So for me, I've been tried and tested as a leader. I've been given different responsibilities. And that responsibility, I was listening to Usis Connie Figasens, Ufigasens, may his soul rest in peace, and was saying, one thing I've learned about Figasens is that magayenza into uyenza ngako konke kuphelele.
Yes.
And she said that guy was a 2-foot person. Makathi wenza into uyenza kuphelele. I don't want half done. I want to do it until it's done.
Yes.
So you said something earlier about quality. Quality is quantified by time. You know, how much time do you spend perfecting it?
Thank you.
So for me, it's what shapes me. I'm shaped by the thinking. I'm shaped by the belief that excellence is what shapes me. And also the affirmation of excellence.
Wow. Bafethu, ninga-shift lapha. Ninga-shift. Sisafuna nje ukunipha ukudla kwendlebe and then sibuyele futhi kuphuthi isicelo. Kusazoba mnandi la ekhaya. Uyamotivate niyazi wena siyakhuthazeka nje nawe njengoba ulalele lapha ekhaya. I'm sure ithemba liyabuya kuwe wena osolahla ithemba. Sisazombuza ngokuthi ngoba iEnglish yakhe uyayishaya it sizombuza ukuthi ufundephi. Ngoba kune-belief yokuthi abantu kumele baye ezikoleni eziphezulu ukuze bahlakaniphe njengobhuti isicelo kanje. Hlala nami nje wena.
Siyahamba ngokukholwa endleleni ekhaya siyalizwa izwi lakho umalusi osipina uyasonga asipine umalusi siyamazi usipina esihola yemanzini uphumula uyasonga asipine umalusi siyamazi siyahamba ngokukholwa yemanzini wophumula uyasonga asipine umalusi siyamazi siyahamba ngokukholwa endleleni sithembile uyasonga asipine umalusi siyamazi uyasonga asipine umalusi siyamazi yena uyasonga asipine yena siyamazi futhi wosisa kulowo mthombo yemanzini wona wokuphumula yena uyasonga aphinde asipine umalusi siyamazi uyasonga yebasikine umalusi thina siyamazi siyahamba ngokukholwa sithembe yena nasendleleni emthonjeni emanzini lapho sophumula khona sithembe sihamba ngokukholwa endleleni ekhaya.
Welcome back. Nisahleli naye kuThulas wakamtshali. Nosicelo Ngubane. Ningakhohlwa ukuyosubscribe lapha ku YouTube. Nithi nje Thulas MTV, usubscribe, ulike, ucomment, ushare. Also na ku Facebook, it's Thulas MTV. Ne like nje bafowethu, ukulike kwenu no comment kwenu. So kwenza something ukuthi i-channel ikhule, ikwazi ukuthi nezindaba ezinhle kanje zifinyelele kubo bonke abantu. But isicelo.
Say.
Hey. Ay, mina ngisamangele. Ay ngisamangele. Sicela usitshele ngokwe background yemfundo before ngoba nje sesongena kwi motivation.
Yeah.
Mase siyayivala.
Yeah.
Ngokwemfundo ufunde mhlambe ukhona ozothi mawusho isikole athi yayi. Nami ngifunde lapha. Asukuma futhi azithintithe.
Yeah, man.
Yabo, khona amavila phela la ngaphandle. Amavila nje lo ubona ukuthi lo akahlupheki ivila leli.
Yeah.
Yabo. Okay, awusithatha usibeke since ukhulele khona le Davidton ufunde kuphi?
So, my high school was a Kefas Nyoga in Etwatwa.
Yes.
I still believe it's September Multipurpose Resource Center is the one that shaped a lot of my vocabulary, because then I was given an opportunity to be a groundbreaker, and there I was a groundbreaker for debate. I was going in conferences, and exposure, like I said, is one that was shaping a lot of my vocabulary. I went to IDASA, in Institute of Democracy in South Africa, where a lot of my civic, I will say, education was shaped. But in terms of arts and drama and music, it's September, it's Bikwa Theatre, it's Market Theatre Laboratory. So I've exposed myself a lot, because when you're doing drama, especially arts, you read scripts. So when you believe in the character, because most of my characters I used to play, I'll make an example. Maru was done by my grade 12, and we're doing Maru as a drama.
Yeah.
And I was playing characters of Obo Ranko and also Abo Mulika. And for me, that was already shaping my vocabulary, because I have to mimic the character. I have to speak like them, present like them. So it's what has shaped my vocabulary, so that I can grow. But also as a debate groundbreaker, you must read a lot.
Yeah.
So just this year, I launched a Kasi Library, which is a gigantic project that I am doing in a Kasi private school. So
Nice.
we have a Kasi Library and a Kasi private school. So I've started a school. I don't know ngoba ngiza bathi khona abantu abama-founder. I have not found a vocabulary or a definition of a person who started school. So I started a Kasi private school, which is not an academic school. It's school for dropouts. Because what I've realized also is that in the community, we have a lot of young people, whether you are dropping out of school because of different reasons, but there is no angle that takes young people into a program that can give them a second chance so that they can stay on track. And not everybody is an intellect. Who said everyone must finish their school, they must go to universities? Other people are gifted with their hands. They have to work with their hands. So what I've been doing in terms of the community development was to come up with a framework. Ikasi Library was launched by Umambusiswe Mkhwebane, the public protector, just to launch the library.
Wow.
So she's mentoring us also in growing it and making it to be big. So we're also in engagement with Ego Ruleni to say, why don't we make this library a mobile library where we go around township and we make books to be fashionable, because our young people don't realize the power of books, don't realize the power of reading, and leaders must be readers. You can't lead without reading. So the library for me is a sign and a signature of the person that I am, and most of my leadership styles Also, taken and abstracted from John C. Maxwell because I've looked up to him. So most of my vocabulary, he comes in there and then because he is somebody that I've looked up to and somebody that have been coaching a lot of leaders across the country. So that's where I would say my background in terms of education can be traced.
Eish, nice. Scelo mfowethu, kuna term elisetshenziswayo manje elithi ugowisha. Yeah, mawudlula entweni manje bathi uyagowisha.
Yeah.
Baningi abantu abagowishayo manje. Ngifuna siye kwi motivation njengamanje. Baningi abantu abagowishayo bakhona abangazi ukuthi especially khona ingane askis neyami ingane engathi ayazi ukuthi ifuna ukuba yini mayikhula manje. Le enye ishona lena ibamba. Baningi khona abashiwa amadoda khona uyayibona baningi khona abalahlwe hosibusiso uyayibona khona abayenze njani. So ngicela siye kule khona nje impilo kubo emile abangazi ukuthi bathathe yipi direction.
Yeah.
Ngicela nje ukukunika lelo thuba manje since kwindawo yakho leyo nje uthathe leso sikhathi nje naba abantu mfowethu bakulalele.
Thank you, Hlabangani. One thing that we must never take away in life is season. There is season for everything. There is always going to be tough times. There's going to be difficult times, but they don't define you. One thing that is a mistake about people is that we normally don't look at what is it that is shaping you as a person. What time is it? What season of your life are you? My season might not be your season. The problem with us or the proximity or the contradiction of life is that you could be having your summer and somebody's having their winter. Even in this world we are living in now, but when you look at America, it was summertime for them. It doesn't mean you are in a bad place. Doesn't mean your horizons or maybe your coordinates are wrong. It just means in the area where you are, the temperature has changed. You, who is the person going through this transformation and change, you need to ask yourself a very difficult question: who you are or what are you? Many people find jobs before they find themselves. That is why when you lose your job, you feel like you have lost yourself because it's all you thought you are. Some people find marriage before they find themselves. That's why when they lose the marriage, they feel like I've lost everything about myself. But you don't realize that marriage have found you, the job have found you, anything else have found you. Do not find anything until you have found and discovered who you are. So it's important to discover who you are so that you don't place anything as a high value other than who you are. So the shirt I'm wearing is not as expensive as the person who have bought it. The shoes I'm wearing are not as expensive as the person who's wearing them. So anything, you must understand the difference between a source and a resource. That these things might be sources, but my source comes from God. The mistake we do is that we value things and we don't value ourselves. And until you understand who you are, you will realize the importance of discovering who you are. Jesus, sitting with his 12 disciples, asked them a critical question: who do people say I am? And that silence, in terms of the challenge of understanding who he is, tells you that sometimes you're asking yourself, you're asking the wrong question from wrong people. Ask yourself, who am I? And once you have discovered and identified,
yes,
you would have discovered your wealth. You would have discovered your freedom. You wouldn't try to be something else because you know who you are. Our freedom is in discovering who we are. In all animals, I'm quoting the wisest man who once said, if you want to challenge the fish about how much it can climb the tree, the fish can grow up thinking it's stupid because it can't climb a tree.
Yeah.
Never limit who you are because some of the things you do, others cannot be able to do. And things that you do, other people do, you can't be able to do. Shine the minimum, praise the maximum. Know who you are. Do not care about other people, care about you. And once you have embraced who you are, you no longer care about what's happening around you.
Yeah.
So for me, what is important is that other people now have been losing jobs. Maybe it was, if God did not want you to keep the job, He did not want you to keep the job. If God wanted to stop it, could have stopped it. So we must accept the things that we cannot change. So as a person of experience, I know how to lose a job. Once you lose a job, you feel like you've lost yourself. You can't even explain to your children, hey, because you feel like the source is no longer there.
Yeah.
But let me tell you, the source is still there. It's only the resource that has changed.
Hey, Bafethu, ningayindawo. Siyabuya ke futhi ke bafethu ke sizoya engomeni futhi manje engomeni yokugcina and then sibuyele kuphuthi isicelo siyiraphe and then sivale. Thula simtshali.
Ngifundise Jesu ukugcina maya mazwi yakho maya ngifundise Jesu nokuhamba ngokukholwa maye ngifundise Jesu maye ukugcina yeba amazwi yakho yebo ngifundise Jesu nokuhamba ngokukholwa